Welcome everyone to After the Dragon, presented by Mayhem Media. I am your host, JD. Ms. Pond the Breeze couldn't make it to this episode, so you just have me on a solo one. It likely won't be that long. Marcus Frederiksen plays us in. Make sure you check out his music at reverbnation.com/Marcus Frederiksen, and follow us on Facebook. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Just search Mayhem Media. That's where you can find us. Please hit the like button, share it out, and leave us a comment. A couple of things we're going to talk about in this episode. This episode opens up with, of course, the funeral of Leanna Valeryon, and it's an interesting scene. There's a lot of reaction shots, a lot of looks between characters. There's a lot of unspoken things in that scene there, and of course we see Renyra and Damon give a look, and then at the end of it they walk off, and we see that we know where that goes. The twin Valeryon girls losing their mother and getting comfort, and then of course there's the scene. Let's talk about that first. The kids scene, where a medieval kids battle that is not just for play or for fun. It's all fun and games until someone loses an eye, and that's what happened. We saw Aemon Targaryen become a dragon rider by taking Leanna Valeryon's dragon. Now that she's dead, another dragon rider can claim a dragon. Just as Aemon said, if to the girls, if one of you wanted it, then you should have done it. Of course, they were mourning their mother. They probably weren't thinking about that at the time. Aemon clearly was, and I think he's right that even the confrontation, and he took on four kids of equal age at least, I think, maybe a little bit younger, and I mean he was holding his own there pretty good against all of them. Of course, I was not rooting for Aemon Targaryen. I was rooting for the other four. And then of course he lost an eye, but as he said, they gained a dragon for their side, and there are sides clearly being drawn here at this point. If you haven't figured that out yet, there are clearly sides being drawn here, and getting another dragon for your side and having a dragon rider, that is certainly well worth the eye. So they get another dragon rider for their side. Now he was the only one of the Targaryen children that did not have one yet. So him getting one definitely shifts the balance of power. However, Renyra now marrying Damon, her uncle. Of course, this is pretty normal in the Targaryen line to marry family, to preserve the bloodlines is what they call it. Of course, that's not really going to help you in the long run. But those two uniting and being wed together now kind of balances out that the Hightowers got another dragon. All of the heirs of Driftwood, the Valeryon seat of power, are now them. They're the grandkids. Both Damon has the two we had with Leanna Valeryon, and then Renyra has the two boys that were supposedly, of course we know they're not, but they were supposedly of her brothers, the king consort, and so all of the Valeryon grandchildren, which are now the heirs, both the children are dead. So it's just the grandchildren now, and they're all on the same side now, which I believe puts the Valeryon family firmly behind Renyra and Damon. I believe House Valeryon will firmly be behind those two. Of course, the Hightowers will have bannermen of their own. We'll find out exactly which ones those are, I'm sure, later on in the season or the series at the very least. Maybe not this season. I don't know if we'll see war this season. But the kid scene was certainly gruesome, but it certainly paints, helps paint a picture of the Game of Thrones universe, and that is that it's brutal. It's a brutal universe, and you lose an eye, but gain a dragon, that's considered a good day. And that's that just shows you what kind of universe that the Game of Thrones world exists in. The king is looking more and more decayed every day. He couldn't even stop his queen from drawing his dagger and then trying to take one of the eyes of Princess Rhaenyra's children. That scene was also very interesting because she always stays reserved and she's always been very calm. And this was the first time that she lost it. It makes sense; it was for her children, but I mean, it was a fight. Was it a fair fight? No, not really. It wasn't a fair fight across the board. But he also was the one that, picked the fight. Well, no, he didn't either. I'm sorry. The two Valeryon girls, but you should have known that was going to happen. And he knew that was going to happen too, of course. He knew that was going to happen. Aemon Targaryen did. And like he said, it was a good trade. So, the queen setting up for her children and slicing, cutting open the princess. Certainly, it shifted. I mean, a lot of people saw that, so that's going to be stories and stuff. As her father said, he didn't know that she had that kind of side, that he now believes that she will do anything to win. But I do believe that outburst probably damaged her in the eyes of those who've watched and those who hear the stories. Trying to take the eye of one of the princes and cutting the princess with a Valyrian dagger is not something that a lot of the commoners and probably some of the other high families are not going to be okay with. So that, I'm sure, may have shifted some allegiances or made some stronger within, where they were already aligned before. I don't think the king has much longer. I think the king I think by the end of the season 1 here, I think by the end of season 1 I think the king will be dying or dead by the end of season 1. I think the queen and the Hightowers will begin to take and influence more and more power, especially now that Otto Hightower is backhand the king, with Lord Strong being burned alive in Harrenhal. Of course, most of the people attribute it to the curse of Harrenhal. And at the end of the season, we're going to do a wrap-up show, and Harrenhal, the line of the families that have held Harrenhal, we're going to discuss that, and we're also going to have a full family tree of houses and the major families going from House of the Dragon to the Game of Thrones. For anybody who would want to see that, spoilers, I'm sure, just as there are in all these episodes. So with Otto Hightower now back as Hand of the King, that puts the Hightowers back in a great spot. The Queen will exert her influence as he becomes more and more decayed and less able to do his job as king. The Queen will take over, and so will the Hand. So the Hightowers will have the crown, at least, in the Red Keep. Renyra and Damon will likely have Dragonstone. So of course the Driftwood. Well, we don't know for sure that the Velaryons are which side they're going to side with, but being that, again, that Renyra and Damon have all the grandchildren, I imagine they're going to align with them. That's the future of their house. Spoiler alert, if you don't know where their house goes, it eventually does, it ceases to exist, because right now there's 4 grandchildren. 2 of them are females. They are actually Velaryons, and they will not carry on the name Valeryon to their children. And the 2 boys who would be called Velaryons, at least one of them would be, is not actually a Valeryon. So Targaryens is about the closest that they're with. Of course, you know that their father was Lord Strong, and he just was burned to death in Harrenhal with his father. So, I think that's where we're going to pretty much end it. Again, I don't like to just regurgitate these episodes. I like to talk about specific points. So, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please share it out. Leave us a comment. Leave me a comment about anything. Who's your favorite character? Mizpah and I still have not selected our favorite characters, though I am getting close to selecting one. So, we'll likely talk about that before the end of the season 1 in one of these episodes. Next week, Ms. Pa and the Breeze should be back, and we're also going to discuss some of the houses, their names, and their sigils in the next episode. After we talk about episode 8, we're going to talk about a couple of the families and their sigils to help everybody remember everybody's name. I have trouble with it sometimes. I'm sure some other people out there do as well. Visit the storefront, bonfire.com/store/JDEDESIGNz. That's with a Z at the end of it. If you want to help us further just in liking, commenting, and sharing, and please do that as well. Our sister podcast, the Boiling Point Podcast, go check that out. They're on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble also. Just search the Boiling Point Podcast. I am your host, JD. Marcus Frederiksen is going to play us out. That's the end.